Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week, I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Hey guys, welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Today I'm going to have a chat to you about toxic relationships. I'm sure there's going to be many podcasts that I'm going to do about this topic with guests and sharing my own personal experiences and what I've learned through over the years. So with toxic relationships, it's kind of a buzzword at the moment, and I think until you have been in one or seen what they look like, a lot of us will live in a life where we're surrounded by these people and we just think it's normal. We may think it's, or we may not think it's normal, but we don't want to share it with anyone because it's too embarrassing. We don't want people to know our stuff. It's probably just normal, so we just carry on. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about what I've been through and just give you a general understanding of what to look out for, what is a toxic relationship, and I do have a masterclass that's coming up too that can give you more in-depth knowledge so you can make the choices and make good choices of the people that you surround yourself with, because a lot of the time we think of toxic relationships, we may think of parents, we may think of a partner, or sometimes we may think of friends, but it can be a lot wider than that. It could be a health professional you see. It could be a trainer at a gym. It could be your postman, the person at the coffee shop. It could be, you know what I mean? Like it can be a lot of other people that we don't probably necessarily think of off the top of our heads. And we can just find ourselves in these relationships, and it's a real journey. And it can, when you're around these people, you can be in a romantic relationship or you can just be in a form of relationship with them. And when you are around these people or you've just seen them and you come back home from having a coffee, they can throw you into spells of depression, rage, and loneliness. And what it can do is just really unravel our deepest insecurities, leaving us, me, you, anyone, with a lingering emptiness that just haunts you. And it just feels, it's when you start playing detective, you start questioning things, you think you're going silly. And I just guess you just feel really unhappy. Like we all are unhappy with ourselves to a certain point. It's human nature. But when we're around these people, over time, it can really quieten our voice. We don't use our opinions anymore. We just go with the flow because we think it's easier. We ignore the butterflies in our tummy. And a lot of the time we are taught that when we meet someone, especially in a romantic sense, when we meet someone, we get butterflies in our tummy and we get really excited. And what I've learned to be true is when we get butterflies in our tummy, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a connection, it's a healthy connection. It actually means to stay away. It's actually our danger signals going, watch out, danger. But for many years too, I used to think, oh my goodness, like I've got butterflies, this is exciting. And my body was going, warning, and I just chose to ignore those things. And it's really easy sometimes if you haven't been in a relationship like this to see on the outside someone going through it and thinking, oh my God, it's plain as day. How can you not see it? And how are you going through this? But when you're in it, it's really hard to see it. When you're in it, the person you're in that relationship with really has a hold on you and you think that you're silly and it's to do with them, and they play this game and they all have this kind of same rule book. And through my masterclass, I'm going to be going through that rule book. And when I uncover what I learned, it just really makes sense. And it's a great tool to have with you throughout your life because it can be a boss, it can be a work colleague, it can be a sister-in-law, a mother-in-law, a father-in-law. It can be anyone in your life. So if you have these tools, it can really serve you for the rest of your life. And I promise you, when you learn about these people, psychopaths, narcissists, sociopaths, They're really manipulative people, and they don't have any empathy. They're not built like you and me, and they intentionally cause harm to others without any remorse or responsibility. But we always have excuses for them. And these people, they are predictable like clockwork. They idealize us, devalue us, discard us, and it's just a cycle. They idealize us, think we're wonderful, then devalue us, then discard us, and then come back. So it's this big cycle. And what enables them to do this is they have people that surround them, family, friends, and other people, ex-partners, that think that they are just God's gift and they're just so amazing. And that's what keeps them going, because they have these people that fuel them, and those people are actually called flying monkeys. And it's so interesting when you learn all this stuff. And when you're brought up in a family that is surrounded by these types of people, you think it's normal. So for all of my life, I was brought up in a really toxic family, and I thought that was what love was. I didn't even question it. I thought, like, no one's perfect, you got to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, yada, yada. And the thing is, I just thought it was normal. In the relationships I was having in my life, every single relationship, any person I would bond with and talk to was very toxic for me. And I thought it was normal. And it's really interesting because people would talk down to you, but in a really... Sometimes they're really clever. They'll be like, oh, you look really nice. And then later in the night, they'll be like, oh, I don't really like those shoes on you though. So it can be like little comments like that. Or once I went to buy some supplements and the partner at the time was like, why are you spending all that money on yourself? That's terrible. And I won't even begin to tell you where his money used to go. But that's the thing, is it just can put you in a really dark place, and you can repeat this pattern over and over again. These relationships can get more abusive and more toxic throughout your life. So what I want to do is just be this safe place for you to check in with me when I do these masterclasses, when I do a podcast about toxic relationships. I want you to listen and hear what I've got to say. I have lived this. I do not want anyone to live this. And when you learn to put boundaries in place for yourself, you learn what your self-worth is, and you learn to know that you don't need to people please anymore, and really you don't care about these people. Your life is so much better, and it's so nice doing what you want and being around people that uplift you and actually truly love you. It's unconditional love. All this love from toxic people is conditional love. It's always on their terms. And if they're happy with you, they're happy with you. And if they're not happy with you, then what you do is you backpedal and you put your life on hold. You eat foods that you may not like, and you go to dinners and you do things just to keep them happy. And that's not living a life. So with toxic relationships, it can really numb you to the things that once made you happy, and you just feel worthless and lost. And like I said, it could be a whirlwind romance, a scheming co-worker, an abusive family member, it's just, it all makes you feel the same. And we cannot fix these people, because these people just won't change. And the best tool I can give you is to learn to trust your intuition. Because these people prey on forgiveness. They thrive on your need for closure, and they manipulate compassion and exploit sympathy. So they always know that you're such an empathetic person that you will always forgive them. And what happens is, in any type of relationship, when people show up at the beginning, that's the best they're ever going to get. And speaking from experience, and I know a lot of you out there possibly in a relationship right now, that in the beginning, it was any relationship at the beginning, it's why it's called the honeymoon period. It's exciting and it's so much fun. And what happens is when the mask drops off and you really start to see these people for who they are, you hang on in a relationship a lot longer than what you want to, because you think, oh, one day I'm going to miss out. Someone else is going to get this great person if I don't step up, or I don't. And it's all about when you start saying to yourself, I need to do this, I have to do this so they can see how amazing I am. When you start talking like that, I want you to catch yourself and be like, that's not healthy. And that is a form of an abusive relationship, because the person should love you no matter what. You should never have to prove anything. And in the beginning, when it's so amazing and then it's not great anymore, they know you're going to hang in there, because for that beginning part, they will find out from you what your biggest insecurity is, and they will bring that up. And then they'll also find out what your life story is, something that's happened to you, but something that you really want in life. So say, for example, if you really wanted someone that was loyal, or you really wanted someone that was you'd like to have children, or you'd like to get married with, or you'd like to travel with, or you'd like to buy a house with, and they will get to know you and get to know what your biggest insecurity is, but also what your biggest goals and dreams are. And they'll really build you up, put you on a pedestal, make you just feel so amazing. And then they drop you from the height of, they just drop you, as in they'll start doing small digs. They'll start looking at other people. They'll be on their phones for longer. They won't do things like they used to. They'll give you a cold shoulder, and it will just be almost like overnight. It'll just change. And you'll think, oh my God, what have I done wrong? And you will just try and do everything to get their attention, to get the relationship back to where it was, but it's all a game for them, and it's all a control thing, and they just want to feel admired. And when you start playing detective, when you start going, oh my God, there's something happened, you feel there's something wrong, and you start looking, that's another red flag for you to be like, okay, this is not healthy. I trust myself. There is definitely something going on. And then you feel like you're going to lose a relationship if you feel that, not desperation, but you're like, oh my God, I have to be this perfect person, or I want them to see how great I am. I'm so much better than any other person. And you do everything you can. That's not healthy, guys. It's not normal. And your strengthened intuition is the greatest defense that you're going to have against a manipulative person, because manipulative people come in many different ways. Even sometimes with me, when I had worked out why I was attracting certain people in my life, and then even so recently I was like, yes, I've got it. And then sometimes, the universe likes to send us a little treat. And sometimes, and I like to trust people. When you trust people and you give them, they show up the best they can be at the beginning, and then people got to earn trust over time. And then I have really strong boundaries now. So if someone says something and doesn't follow through, or they show me that they're not the type of person I'd like in my life, I move on, and I have no regrets from that now. And I really would love that for you as well. And it's really hard because sometimes we just don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. And there's about 30 red flags off the top of my head that I can think of that I will go through in this masterclass. 30 red flags that will help you know to spot toxic people, but that's only like half the battle, because you may be already in something that you think's not toxic, and I want you to be ready for anything that comes your way. That's the best thing. And a lot of people, I'm just going to give you a couple now. And one of them is they make you feel like you're really too insensitive. They may make you cry all the time, or make you feel like you're crazy, or everything becomes your fault. And they become dismissive and critical of you, and they disapprove of everything. And it's just over time they chip away. And they just can't. Another one is they just can't put themselves in your shoes. Like, you just over-explain something and they still don't get it, and they really don't care. Or they're like little kids. They go silent on you, and you do everything you can to try and get them back. And then one of the other ones is they can be the ultimate hypocrite. Do as I say and not as I do. So you can have... they've got really high expectations of fidelity and respect and adoration. And when they have you in that idealization phase, they don't give any of this back to you. And they will actually cheat and lie and criticize and manipulate. But they say that their expectations are all those things. But you are expected to remain perfect, but they will do the lying and the cheating and the criticizing. Otherwise, if you don't do all those things, that you're going to be replaced and then also deemed as like crazy or unstable. So if you ever meet a partner Or you become friends with people and they talk about someone in not a very nice way, and the words crazy or loose unit or something like that will come up. I want you to be wary, because, and this is where, especially as us women, we need to kind of be together in this, that there is no toxic, crazy woman out there. It's these people that drive you to be like that when one day you may snap. But if you know their story, any human being would do that. But if you hear those words, I want you to think about it, because that's a red flag too. That, you know, someone's crazy and all my girlfriends were crazy, but you're not crazy. It's like, oh my God, run if you ever hear that. And they focus on all your mistakes that you make, but none of theirs. So they're perfect, but you make all these mistakes. And, you know, they may say to you, say for example, you're going to a barbecue or something and you have a conversation with a friend or a co-worker or a partner, and they're like, oh my God, I can't stand this person, blah, blah, blah. And even that in itself is not healthy. We're humans, we all talk about people, but you don't need to be nasty about it. But if someone's saying really horrible stuff about someone and all of a sudden you turn up at an event and they're like best buddies, that's another red flag. And it's just, they lie and they make so many excuses and they're really good at it. But even when you start to catch them out, like even if, say, for example, you play detective and you actually find text messages on their phone to other women or other men, right? And you actually hit them up about it and they just lie to you, get out. That's just something that they're just very selfish. And if you're just in a relationship and you're seeking answers to a feeling that you can't quite explain, that definitely means that there's something there. And no one can fix them. No one is better than you. It's just this game that they play with us, and it just gets into your head. So it's really important, because what happens is when you're in these relationships, you spend more and more time trying to prove yourself that you're worthy to the very same person who once said that you were perfect. And they love surrounding themselves with former lovers and potential mates and anyone else who provides them with added attention. And it's just really obvious if they're still friends with a couple of exes. And you may find that you apologize and you cry more than you ever have in your life. You barely sleep, you wake up, you're thinking about them 24/7, and you just feel insane and exhausted and drained and shocked and empty, because they're going to tear your entire life apart with money, ending friendships, and you just look for a reason behind it all and you'll never actually get an answer. So I want you to be aware of the vultures, and it's just something that they tend to attract. These types of people tend to attract us empaths like magnets, and they just feel connected, and it's just this joy all at once. And they just seem exceptionally kind and warm at first, and they want to absorb all our problems and fix us, and they're just fascinated by all our struggles, and they'll say things like, I've never met someone like you before, you're amazing, you're incredible, I've waited for you my entire life. And this may be on the first or second date that you've met them, and oh my gosh, you're my world, and they just tell you all this stuff, and they'll always tell you something about themselves that you find a shock moment. So throughout my relationships, I've had a couple of moments where my previous partners had told me things that anyone would be like, oh my God, you've been through that, that's terrible. And what that happens is that shows that they're vulnerable. So any human being will be vulnerable back, and then what they do is they use what your biggest insecurities is against you in that relationship, and just keep playing it and playing it and playing it. If you have been in a toxic relationship before, I think you'll be shaking, nodding your head going, yeah, I remember that. And you can get out of it, and you will get out of it, but it's just knowing what is okay for you and what is not okay in a relationship. And it's just, we tend to ignore our intuition, and we must learn to trust it again. And instead of judging outwardly, we need to really look in ourselves to see look at our own feelings, and that's when our healing begins. And it's just good people make you feel good and bad people make you feel bad. I think that's a really important thing. And if you're with someone that constantly makes you feel unhinged, anxious, jealous, makes your heart kind of rise up in your throat, and when you swallow it's a bit hard to swallow, or when you have butterflies in your tummy, or if you spend hours constantly like analyzing their behavior and your conversations and the words, and you should have said this, and if you're defending them, it's not okay. I want you to be reminded that you're not crazy. Even when it feels like you're taking on the entire world, you're not crazy, but you're going to begin to filter out all the people that make you feel bad. You don't need to put up with negative people or negativity, and you want to be around people that constantly bring out the best in you. So, let's get started. There's a manufactured soulmate that we all want, that people, it's a calculated soulmate that they kind of say to us, and it's the idealization stage, that you be swept off your feet and lost in passion, and that it's something that excites you on every level, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. And it's like they're the first people that you think of when you wake up in the morning, and the last thing that you think of when you go to bed. And they really get you that way, especially now with text messaging, is they'll text you in the morning, hey, beautiful, how are you? And they'll text you at night, hey, you're amazing. And we hold on to that, and they think, oh my God, they're so good. Oh my God, please. They're sending a text message to you, like 2 or 3 words. And at night, 2 or 3 words, and you think they're amazing. And for me, the guys that used to hang around me and be with me had to put in minimal effort, and they would get so much from me, and I don't want that for you. So don't be that person that someone gives you crumbs and you're like, oh my God, like, I want you to see it for what it is. I want you to have a list of non-negotiables. I want you to know, in a partner or in a job or in a family situation, I want you to write down what your non-negotiables are, what you will put up with, what you will not put up with. But I also want you to know what you want, especially when you're looking for a romantic partner. I want you to write very detailed exactly what you want in a person, and they are non-negotiables. It's not about bloody ticking boxes. It's about having standards, having values, caring for yourself and watching out for yourself and loving yourself, and having likes attract like. If you don't like yourself, you hate your body, you think you're not worthy of love, no one's going to love you, well, guess what you're going to attract? You're going to attract the same thing. But if you are working on yourself to love yourself, and you know what you want in a person, and you have standards, and on a first date, it's not doing drive-through through McDonald's. It's getting to know you, and it's over time, and you might do nice things together as a couple, but it's not all quick and big gestures, and then all of a sudden it just fizzles out. And I want you to pay attention to what people say. You will see the best version of someone in those first couple of days or couple of weeks. It's never going to get any better than that. Someone will not change. They will show you the best they will be. And I want you to start listening to their words. If they say they're going to be there at 3 o'clock, they're going to be there at 3 o'clock. They don't do that and ghost you. Or they don't promise things and then under-deliver. And pay attention to how you really feel around them. Not the hype. I want you to sit in it. And I want you to see how they treat other people. How do they treat the waitress? How do they treat the bar staff? How do they treat people if they own a business? How do they treat their clients? How do they treat other people? Please pay attention, because it will be there, but we do everything we can to ignore it because we think we're being silly and judging, and what do we know? Because these people live off constant praise and attention. And when you start, especially when you start dating people like this, they're going to flood your phone with texts. They're going to write so many things in your Facebook timeline, comment on all your photos or Instagram, and you're going to have a favorite song, you're going to have inside jokes and pet names and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be insane, because it's going to happen so quickly, and you're not going to be able to imagine what life is like without them. It's kind of a way of brainwashing that they do to win you over. So it's so interesting. They say things like, oh my God, we've got so much in common. We see the world the same way. We had the same sense of humor. We're both so empathetic, constantly helping out our friends and family. We're just perfect for each other. And there's no one else there like you. And they're going to spend a lot of their time listening to you and helping you with your problems. They say we've got the same hopes and dreams. It's just so amazing. We share the same insecurities. They're going to talk about how beautiful you are and how they're going to be obsessed with the way you look, and that they'll say that they've never met anyone that, they always going to comment on your clothes or your hair. And they're just going to feel like compliments, but over time, they're actually going to turn into negative things, and they're going to start picking away at your insecurities. And then your relationship with them is going to become an unending exchange of praise and approval, and that you begin to place your self-esteem in their words because they're so reliably positive that you can actually feel yourself glowing. And your body goes through changes as your confidence rises with every word. And the more and more time you improve your appearance because you keep them impressed. They'll also say things to you like, oh, I've never felt this way in my life. I almost just feel like throwing up when I hear this stuff, because I fell for all of this many, many times over the many years. And I thought, oh my God, all my dreams have come true. Not even. We're soulmates. Oh my God. They love the idea of being soulmates, and they use this time and time again. And then they say, they just use that one a lot, I find. And they're things that I want you to look at. And they'll also kind of pop and talk about their ex more than what you'd probably want them to. My ex and I always had a fight, but we never fight. My ex always needed to talk on the phone, but you're not needy or demanding. My ex would always nag about me getting a job. You're so much more understanding. Can you see? I'm going to leave it there because I want to make these podcasts about toxic relationships short and sweet so you can listen to them over and over again. And I'm going to be putting all this into a masterclass too. So I hope you enjoyed this first podcast episode on toxic relationships. There's going to be many more. And please reach out to me if you feel like you are in one and you would like some tips, or you just would like to learn more about these types of relationships, what to look out for. Am I in a healthy relationship? Because sometimes we think we're in a healthy relationship, and it's not until you start talking to other people that you think, oh my gosh. And also how to not attract these type of relationships as well. It's such, it's just such great things that I can pass on to you. So until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbarathompson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you, and I'll catch you soon. Bye!